This is Mrs. Vaca, and this is the Solving Inequalities Using Multiplication and Division video. Solving multiplication and division inequalities the same way you solve multiplication and division equations. Multiplication and division properties of inequalities. If you multiply or divide each side of an inequality by a positive number, then the inequality remains true. If you multiply or divide an inequality by a negative number, this is when things get different, the inequality symbol must be reversed, which means that you have to flip it. Okay? Anytime you multiply or divide by a negative number, then you flip the inequality symbol the other direction. Otherwise, everything else is solved the same way as an equation would be solved. Alright, so for example, we have 5x is less than or equal to 30. So draw a line down your inequality symbol and you'll solve this just like an equation. This is 5 times x, the opposite of times is divide, so you would divide by 5. Leaving us with x is less than or equal to 30 divided by 5 is 6. So our answer is x is less than or equal to 6. So you would put 6 in the middle of your number line. Okay, since this is a less than or equal to symbol, you would put a closed circle. Less than numbers go left, so I'll point my arrow left. Also, the inequality symbol looks like it's pointing left, so my arrow on my graph should point to the left. Alright, number 2, 7y is greater than negative 49. So draw a line down your inequality symbol. This is 7 times y, the opposite of times is divide. So you'll be left with y is greater than negative 7. Now, the answer here is negative, but in the original notes it said you flip the inequality symbol when you multiply by a negative, or multiply or divide by a negative. We divided by a positive 7. This number we divided by was positive, so even though the answer is negative, we keep that inequality symbol the exact same. Okay, so put negative 7 in the middle, 2 numbers above, 2 numbers below. Okay, put an open circle above your negative 7. Y is greater than negative 7, the bigger numbers are to the right. Also, this looks like an arrow pointing to the right, so your arrow and your graph should point to the right. Alright, draw your line down your equal sign, or your inequality sign, sorry. This is y divided by 2. Remember, when it looks like a fraction and a division problem mean the same thing. The opposite of a divided by 2 is a times 2. So y is greater than negative 20. Again, the answer in this case is negative, but we multiplied by a positive 2. That's what we multiplied by. So since the number that we multiply by is positive, we keep the inequality the same. So put negative 20 in the middle of your your number line. 2 numbers above, 2 numbers below. This is a greater than, so it's an open circle. The bigger numbers are to the right. This looks like an arrow pointing to the right, so you should point your arrow to the right on your graph. Alright, draw your line. Okay, this is x divided by 4. The opposite of divided by 4 is times 4. So multiply both sides by 4. So x is greater than or equal to negative 100. Okay, again, the number we multiply by is a positive 4. So we're going to leave this inequality in the direction that it's in. Put negative 100 in the middle of your number line, 2 numbers above, 2 numbers below. Okay, since this inequality symbol has this line under it, we're going to do a closed circle. X is greater than or equal to negative 100. The bigger numbers are to the right. This looks like an arrow pointing to the right. So we should point our arrow on our graph to the right. Alright, draw your line down your equal sign. This is -9 times b. The opposite of times is divide, so you're going to divide by -9. So you're going to get b, and since the number that we divided by here is negative, you're going to flip your inequality the other direction. So it should be less than or equal to +9. Okay? The number that you're moving, if you multiply or divide by a negative, the number that you move, then you flip the inequality. So put 9 in the middle of your number line. Okay? Since this is an equal to one, we'll do a closed circle. B is less than or equal to 9. So the less than, the smaller numbers are to the left. This looks like an arrow pointing to the left. So you should graph with your arrow pointing to the left. Alright, draw your line. This is -25 times x. It doesn't matter that the variable's on the right side, you'll still solve the same way. The opposite of a times is divide, so divide by -25. So you're left with x. Since we divided by a -25 here, you would flip your inequality the other direction. And then 250 divided by -25 is -10. Okay, in order to graph though, in order to use our shortcut, you need to switch x and -10 in the opposite order. Okay, if you switch the order, you have to switch the inequality symbol as well. So x is greater than -10. So put -10 in the middle of your number line. Since it's just greater than, you put an open circle. Your arrow should point to the right. That's where the bigger numbers are. This inequality symbol looks like an arrow pointing to the right, so you should point your arrow on your graph to the right. Alright, last problem. Draw your line down your inequality symbol. This is y divided by -2. The opposite of divide by -2 is times -2. Leaving you with y. Since we multiplied by a negative number, you switch your inequality the other direction. And then -72 times -2 is positive 144. Okay? So put 144 in the middle of your number line. Okay, since this has the equal symbol at the bottom, you will do a closed circle. This is y is less than or equal to 144, so less than, the smaller numbers are to the left. This inequality symbol looks like an arrow pointing to the left, so you should point your arrow in the graph to the left.